Is the Monster High community fatphobic? Hey cuties, PeachY here. Welcome back to a new video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about, yes, is the Monster High community fatphobic? Ever since G3 Caddy's doll has leaked, there's been a whole lot of discussion going around her body type, body diversity, if she's obese, if she's unhealthy, if it's like a bad representation for kids, and so on. You can imagine a lot of people just had a lot of thoughts to share, and it also just seems like people just love to argue in general. So I thought, what better way to discuss this than to ask all of you for your opinions on Instagram. So I put up a lot of polls and question boxes on my story yesterday, and here we're gonna now share and look at all of your answers and discuss all of the different questions and polls. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first answer that I put up on my story was pretty simple. You know, I started off with, let's settle this once and for all. Simple question, do you like G3 Caddy's doll? There were three options. Yes, there's potential there for sure. No thank you, I prefer G1. And the last one was the I like Caddy, but why change her so much? And the first option won with 62%, 251 votes. In second place, we got the second option. No thanks, I prefer G1 with 109 votes at 27%. And in third place, we got the third option, that they don't want Caddy to change her so much at 41 votes, 11%. So I think this was a pretty predictable for me, because I think a lot of people do like Caddy, and I think even though there's some people who think she's, we'll get to that obviously later on, but some people think she looks bad, some people think she, she's too big and whatever. But overall, I think people can agree that, there's potential. The actual doll is cute, like it could look better, and this is also a prototype. Remember, it's a prototype, so the final version might look even better, so who knows. But this makes sense to me, and I'm actually really happy that 62%, like 251 votes, people think that she's good, and they like her, so that's good. Second question was, are you in favor of body diversity? We had three options again. First one was, yes, duh, we love to see it. Then we had a second option, in theory, yeah, but there's a way to do it right. Third option was, on new character, yes, but leave the OGs alone. And for here, once again, the first option came out on top with 280 votes at 70%. The second option came in at 94 votes with 23%. And the last option came in third place with 27 votes at 7%. So this also makes sense because I think majority of people are interested in seeing body diversity implemented into doll lines, because it is a reflection of different kids who play with different dolls. They would like to see themselves represented. There's different body types, and I think it's also important to learn and see that in the world. And obviously the world, the dolls reflect people. Ideally dolls reflect real people in the real world, so kids, that's how they view themselves, right? And so, of course, different body types, body diversity, body inclusivity is important to show kids. And just in general, it's nice to see yourself in a doll. So, of course, that will be in first place. And I'm also glad that that is in first place, because honestly, yeah, of course, that's important. Third question is where it starts to get spicy. I asked, is disagreeing with this change fatphobic? And so I had four options actually. So body diversity and design. First option was not necessarily if it's the design itself. Second option, kinda if you're just hating on it. Third option is it's a doll, like can we stop being rude? And then fourth option was yeah, cause we need this kind of representation. And now for this one, the first option also came in first place with 166 votes at 47%. In second place, we actually got the fourth option at 73 votes, 21%. In third place, we got the second option at 62 votes, 17%. And then in last place, we got the third option with 55 votes and 15%. So again, that's very interesting. So obviously kind of mixed bag here. Well, not really, obviously, because there was a winner, but it makes sense to me that, you know, people would differentiate, you know, fat phobia and also just not liking the actual design, because I think there's definitely a line where, you know, like, you can also not just like a design and still be fat phobic, but you can also just not like a design and still want body diversity, which I think a lot of people are in favor of. So this definitely reflected what I had seen with some comments that I saw in my post. So this makes sense to me. The second option being the second in place being the last option actually surprised me, because it actually says, yeah, you are fat phobic if you disagree, because we need this representation. So I guess some people think that if you do disagree, even if it's design wise what you disagree with, some people think that even then you're being fat phobic. So I think that's also hard to pinpoint, like, what is fat phobia. I mean, if you Google it, it really just tells you like someone who has a dissatisfaction and discomfort with like people of a certain size. So, but this is a doll, so it's different. So you can't really even apply fat phobia to a doll because it's different, but it's still in the same venue, because obviously it's a doll representing a humanoid character who then of course is inspired by real life people and cultures and ethnicities. So you know, it is, yeah, it's difficult. The fourth question explores this a little bit more. The question was, is fat shaming a doll even a thing? So we had 4 options. Option 1, fat shaming and just disliking her are different things. Second option, yeah, the things people say about her are insane. Third option is, if you only dislike/hate her for that reason, then yes. And then last option was, seriously, chill. So for this one, the number 1 that came on top was the first option. Fat shaming and just disliking her are different things, at 119 votes at 36%. In second place, we actually had the third option. If you only dislike her/hate her because of that reason, then yes, at 96 votes, 29%. In third place, it actually, yeah, it was very tight, but in third place, we got the last option with 60 votes. Yeah, 60 votes, basically just saying, chill, it's a doll, 18%. And in last place, we got the second option that, yeah, the things people are saying about her, with 59 votes at also 18%. That's weird how IG did that. But yeah, that makes sense to me, because I think a lot of people, again, can dislike a doll design-wise, but also are in favor of like different body types. But then also there's people who maybe just hide behind that and just still dislike her because of the body size. I don't know. But this being very close to the second place one makes sense. And I really just, I still think fat shaming is a thing, even if, you know, it can be different if you only dislike her for a different reason. The answer seems to be that fat shaming a doll is a thing, and it is very evident that it is a really common thing in the doll community at large. Fifth question here, we have multiple options. So the question was, is this body type considered obese or just a curvier, thicker body type? So we had 4 options here. Is this obese to you? First option was, no way, this is just a little bit bigger than Draculaura, since she also has a different body type now. Definitely getting close. Second option. Then we have third option is, yes, it's not good for kids to think this is okay. And last option was, obesity doesn't necessarily also equal unhealthy. Then I also put up a little question box, and we'll get to the answers there as well. So the answers, the results for the poll is the first option came in first place, once again, at 156 votes, 55%. In second place, we had the last option with 69 votes at 24%. In third place, we had the second option at 45 votes, 16%. And in last place, we had the third option at 12 votes, 4%. Now, amongst the different answers answers and from the question box, I could surmise that most people think that kids will not care, and it is important to also just introduce body diversity to dolls for kids, because it also shows them that being different is not bad, and it gives them a chance to see themselves in this doll. Like, for instance, me, when I was collecting G1 Monster High, I often did think that these dolls were really skinny. And of course, since there's ends to both spectrums, like obesity is unhealthy, and then of course there's also like being very underweight is unhealthy. So it's not just like this and that, it's a double-edged sword. So you got to think about it like that. It's not like, every story is also different. Like, again, obesity doesn't always equal like unhealthy. Some people just don't have control over that. It is something that people deal with, and it is a reality for a lot of people, just having a body that looks bigger, and it's not even necessarily obese. Like, this is what they are and what they look like. It's just, so that is just a build that some people have. And I think, like, for me, if I had seen G3 Caddy, like, I would think, wow, so I'm not that different. I'm okay to be like this, because some people just have a bigger build, even if they are healthy, even if they do sports. Like, it's just how they are built. So I definitely think that's a very good thing to introduce to dolls, fashion, kids line. It is important to show that inclusivity, and I'm glad that a lot of answers also equaled, reflected that opinion of mine. The sixth question is pretty straight up. I asked, does the Monster High community have a fat phobia / fat shaming problem? And then we also have a little question box. We'll get to that later. We had the 4 options here. One of them, the first one is yes, definitely, it gets pretty toxic. The second option was the Monster High community is pretty toxic in general. Tall / petite dolls don't get this kind of hate, so yeah. And then the last option was kinda, people just seem to love to argue. So in first place, we had the first option with 145 votes at 52%, which I expected, because I've seen interactions, and it does seem that most people are really just being really toxic and hateful towards G3 and new dolls that have new body types like Caddy, and it does seem that it really just straight up is fat shaming, fatphobic, like it really just is. In second place, we had the second option, that the Monster High community in general is pretty toxic at times, 59% with 21%, 59 votes, 21%. In third place, we had the last option, kinda, people just seem to love to argue, with 49 votes, 18%. And in last place, we had tall / petite dolls don't get this kind of hate, so yeah, 25 votes, 9%. So yeah, and that makes sense to me. Again, I did think that maybe the tall petite question, like option 1, was gonna get a bigger reaction, because I definitely think it's a little bit hypocritical so far, seeing that only when it comes to bigger body types does it then come to body shaming, like petite, tall, no one seems to care really, but then of course when it comes to someone like a doll having a bigger build, it's like, oh, all of a sudden, like, hold your horses, that is too diverse, like we gotta reel it back in on the stomach, we gotta make sure that the shape is more hourglass proportion, because of course, the hourglass shape is also just more wildly acceptable amongst the curvier, thicker kind. So, and of course now with this Caddy doll, she is a bigger build, and the hourglass shape is no longer really prominent here, which I think is great, because it really goes to show you that there are different builds, which I think is important. But of course, once that's gone, it does seem that actually this is the next question, so I'm not going to talk more, but talking about the answers from the question box, once again, it is a mess, but it seems that it really does reflect the overall winner of the poll. The seventh question actually directly addresses what I was talking about before with are people just mad she doesn't have the acceptable quote type of a bigger body type like G3 Draculaura. So we had 4 different options. Oh wow, that actually makes sense. And then the second option was, I guess that could be, or it's just her design. Third option is true, everyone loves drag. And last option was maybe the proportions could also just be off. So for this one, the winner far was the first option. Again, at 92 votes, 36%. In second place, we had the second option with I guess that could be, or it's just her design, with 87 votes, 34%. In third place, we had the fourth and last option with maybe the proportions are just really off, 47 votes, 18%. And in last place, we had the third option with true, everyone loves Draculaura, 30 votes, 12%. Again, like I mentioned earlier, that makes sense to me that people are conveniently in favor of body diversity when that body diversity is depicted as an hourglass thicker build, because of course that is what is in right now. That is, like the Kim Kardashian build, and people seem to think that is thick, that is, like a bigger build, when really that is curvy. There's a difference, and so I think so far Draculaura doesn't really apply to being like just bigger, she's curvy. She has that hourglass build like Cleo, the Cleo's slimmer. And so with Caddy, I'm actually thinking like she is actually like a bigger build now. She doesn't have that conventionally attractive and acceptable body type where it's just like the acceptable curvy body type where it's the hourglass shape. It's more like realistic, and I think that is again important. So of course it's like a little bit hypocritical, like people are yes in favor, yes queen, like body diversity, but then of course it always seems to be that the only diversity we see really is the hourglass diversity, when it's not even diversity anymore. That is really common now. I think bigger builds like this, where they're not shaped and conveniently shaped, sizes, like this is what we want to see. This is diversity. This is what's important to see included, because it represents people who are largely, not represented. Oh my god, but you know what I mean. So I think that's important to show, and I'm that's why I'm happy Caddy's here. And yes, even if the proportions are off with like the hands and the neck, like that does look off, and the face looks a little bit off, but I think overall having a doll that looks different and doesn't have that conveniently shaped hourglass shape, like I think that's important, because again it shows more different types of bodies, and it's important to showcase that to kids so that they're not all like, oh, this is the only way to look like. No, you can look like any way, shape, or form. That's the thing. That's what you want to show kids, that it's okay, you can be any way you are, and it's fine. Finally, the last question here is very simple. Lastly, how would you like to see body diversity implemented? We had 4 options. On new characters only, preferably. Second option was keep G1 characters the same, please. Third option is better than this. And last option was what they're doing now already is good. And I also had a little question box. We'll get to that later. And the votes, the results came in, and the last option came in first place, quite fittingly for, the last question here. With 143 votes at 54%. In second place, we had the first option on new characters only, preferably, 55 votes, 21%. In third place, we had the third option, better than this, at 50 votes, 19%. And in last place, we had the second option with keep G1 characters, keep G1 characters the same, please, 19 votes, 7%. So that makes sense to me. Of course, I think a lot of people are already happy with what we've seen so far with the body diversity, so of course keep doing what they're doing, seems good to me. Then in second place, also it's actually shocking to me that a lot of people are actually they would prefer only new characters to have new body types and stuff, like, so basically all of G1, keep them skinny and the same, but like new characters, that's fine to change. And like I respect your opinion, but like that is not really realistic, because times change, so do characters, and G3 isn't, remember, G3 is just a different generation, different version of Monster High. It's not replacing G1, it's not replacing anything, it's just adapting these characters in a new way. And so therefore I do think that it's fine to give them new body types and stuff. It really just comes down to doing it well, design-wise, creatively speaking. Then of course also doll-wise, actually, building the doll in a way that looks good and also is realistic and faithful and is good in a diversity, and it shows inclusivity, which brings me to the question box, the answers that were left. And specifically Dutch Boy Toy Collector wrote that for Manny, G3 Manny, it would be awesome if Manny, if he got a doll, I hope he does, if he got like a dad bod. Because of course, usually boy dolls are, depicted in their, they have like six packs and like muscles. And it's like, it would be awesome if Manny wasn't ripped and he just had like a belly, like, because that's realistic and that would be really fun. So saw Living Dead Luisa reiterating what I was mentioning before, how it's always, the hourglass shape that seems to be depicted on dolls by Mattel, when really there's also different types of sizes for plus size, like, rectangles, triangles. Like, there's not all plus size shapes are big hips, small shoulders. So that's why I love Caddy, because she does have, she has bigger hips, but she also has wider shoulders to match the same width, and I think that actually looks good. It works, and because usually with Draculaura, for instance, she has small shoulders, like, and really narrow shoulders, and she has really big hips. And of course, it works for some dolls, and of course, it's important to show. But I feel like by now we've seen that done so often. Really, it's time to see plus size dolls that have wider shoulders and perhaps narrow hips, or they have matching hip sizes and like maybe not as cinched in waist, or maybe they have a belly. Maria Primavera also mentioned that it's important to realize that body diversity also includes disabilities, so that's also important to showcase in doll form as well. Overall, I think most reasonable people can agree that Caddy here looks amazing. She's really cute, she has potential. The problem comes when it's her actual design. Like, I think a lot of us don't actually have a problem with her body type. Maybe it's like a change at first, but that's not an actual issue. That's just the actual design issue. It's her dress, it's how she's proportioned, and those have nothing to do with like fat shaming. That's just creatively speaking, part of the process. So I do think that even though it's amazing that she has a new body type and she is unique, I do think the proportions are off. Like, the neck is definitely too thin. Her wrists are perhaps, I don't know, like, I feel like they could, little tweaks here and there to make her look as good as she deserves to look like. Because again, there's some proportions that are off, and I think that's what really puts people off. And then of course also her actual design with her outfit, it is pretty lackluster, right? It's not amazing. So I do think that's also definitely something people are not loving. And then of course, add on to that pile, a new body type. So people of course are going to have a field day with G3 Caddy. So I think overall, she looks amazing. She has potential. The new body type is great. We love to see it. The problem is her design and her proportions, it seems. That is all, like, and again, if we're reasonable, that is the actual issue, not her body type. So what do you think? Do you think the Monster High community is fatphobic? Do you agree with these opinions? And what is your opinion? Let me know down below. I hope y'all enjoyed. Leave a like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and become a member today so you don't miss out when I post more content like this coming your way daily and keeping you up to date with all the royalty you love. Stay safe, be kind. I hope this next time. Stay peachy. Kisses.